Alrighty. So with that said, let's continue with our presentation. Thank you very much for coming today. I know it's Mother's Day, but thank you very much for taking that time out. So with that said, today we're going to go over some 2D blueprinting. So just a quick agenda for May. We're going to go over a 2D blueprint overview, which is what we're going to do today. We're going to have student feedback of their blueprints. We're going to go over some revisions, little altercations in the blueprint, little things like that. And we're also going to go over mentor changes in the 2D blueprint. This just is like we are submitting things to the mentor and they're going to tell us this is right, this is wrong, let's do this, let's not do this. And then we're going to go over the actual prototype. And we're going to go over everything in detail, and we're probably going to receive it, and we're going to do a student prototype analysis. Okay, so with that said, let's go over 2D blueprint review. So here's a general model I asked you guys to revise. If you haven't revised it by now, please do so. There's a video on it. It's I already posted the video, but let's hope this is yeah. But I'll get the video for our previous meeting release. I just don't have the video yet since Mrs. DeCreasy has it. But this is just generally our 3D model. So as you guys can see, wrist 1, Lyndon had the little slots cut out and the holes cut out. Wrist 2, Cyrus had to make it a little bit shorter. Wrist 3, Junso had to make it a little bit less steep and a little too high, less high. Wrist 4, Michael he just had to like cut off the sides, and yeah, that's basically it. And with fingers 2, we had to eliminate fingers 2, or yeah, F2, the protection pads underneath, just because one of our mentors wanted us to stay away from safety mechanisms because that's what they want to focus on, because they don't want any of our mechanisms to be hindered by any potential safety mechanisms. That's like what they want to handle. So that's that. F1, we're making like a completely different shape, a little bit more ergodynamic. One of our mentors actually had to download Autodesk Inventor and kind of present this shape. So that's really nice. We don't really have to worry about it. All we have to worry about is like the little details. So that's a wrap about it. Now, here's an actual blueprint, or I shouldn't say blueprint, it's more like a illustrated 3D model of our actual device. So obviously they took a lot of our inspiration, but they also changed a lot of things. So as I go through this PowerPoint, I'm going to go over some of these changes, but just know that it's not exact. You don't have to understand everything about it. Like you don't have to understand like how this mechanism works. All you have to know is just that it locks into place and little things like that. You don't have to really know. So obviously, there's some altercations to it. As I said before, this is just like one of the things we have to embrace, that we can't exactly have 100% of our ideas translated into the real prototype. These mentors, this is the part they kind of like jump in to help us, where they kind of put in like their expertise in the mechanical field to kind of produce a device that actually works. So let's go over some key parts. Wrist 1. Okay, so this is the basic Lyndon's model. It looks a little bit similar. So you guys first can notice the general fan shape. They really like that design. They had to change a little bit of the math into it. What they did was they just plugged it in like a formula in their 3D programming software, and they just kind of made it a little bit more nice looking and actually make it so that the floor actually covers everything. So if you guys have seen our model, it does work, but it's not mathematically specific, as in like when it comes to the end, it's not going to perfectly align. It's going to be a little bit crooked like this. But that's what they actually fixed for us, which is very nice. They really liked our adjustability idea about how it could be adjusted. But one of the things we were against was just putting it like really loosely, or really like, how should I say this? A little bit messy. They didn't really like it. So what they did was they told us that they could do this tiny homes or tiny pavements really easily. They could just use like a CNC drilling machine. So that's the thing they proposed. about the sections that cut out, Lyndon, the sections in like the middle that you cut out, about that, at first our mentors liked that idea. They even suggested it too, about the whole conserving metal, but they're a little bit uncertain about it, because if you think about it, this device is going to be pretty heavy. It's not going to be that heavy. It's not going to be like a refrigerator, but it will be a significant size and volume. So if you think about metal, it can obviously bend. These are like there's something called stress testing, which is when you apply force at a specific point in a 3D model to simulate how metal will bend depending on how much force you put in. And they're still running through some stress calculations. Of course, those are some of the things we really can't do, because that requires a very significant understanding of mechanical parts. So about that, don't worry too much about it. They're gonna give us the results, and if they do get it, they're probably gonna put it in, or they're not gonna put in the holes at all. So little things like that. For the friction pads, they liked our idea, but they had this part in stock, these little stoppers. They're like really thick and they're made out of rubber. And they actually wanted us to use that because those parts were in stock. And with the holes, it's just a bearing and a 6-hole cutout. There's really not that much to it. It's just a little bit more detailed than what we had in our model, which makes sense because this is for actual industrial production. So there's that. Anyone have any questions with RIS1? Okay. So throughout our 2D blueprint overview, if you have any questions on why our mentors rejected something or added something, please let me know. I'll try my best to answer you. So if you have any questions, just ask me. Maybe I'll know them, maybe I don't, but hey, I can always try my best. Okay, so RIS2. So RIS2, our mentors, all they wanted was, so Michael, you know how when you said are we going to combine RIS1 and RIS2, RIS3 and RIS4, I was a little bit uncertain. This was what I was talking about.
Yeah.
They have these pavements here, and
imprints, you mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and they're planning to make like a giant sheet that goes from the bottom of the device to the top of RIS4, and they're planning on like sticking it.
So they're like going to just contain it all in with a sheet?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's what they were thinking. And they were saying that because it's just a little bit more sturdier that way. And I guess they're right, because, it's not just like 2 screws that hold it in, but like probably like 4 that holds the sides. So there's that. But Junso, this is RIS2. It's just pretty similar. They just didn't want us to put that weird looking oval on the sides, like the protrusions, because it just looked a little bit clunky. So they just kind of smoothed it out for us. Any questions with RIS2? Okay. RIS3. So this is kind of where complicated things kind of pour in. They definitely took out the circle, the inside. They're probably going to put some internal workings in there. So it's a little bit different. You don't exactly have to understand everything here. I know it looks very complicated, but all you have to know is, like the door hinges, how like door hinges, I think they're called like butterfly hinges or something like that. But they kind of just like open. Think of it like that, but then there's a stopper attached to it. So what I'll do is I'll kind of draw, or try my best drawing. So if you think about it, there's going to be pavements like that, and there's going to be pavements like that, like that, and like that. And this part over here, if you look closely to it, it kind of looks like this. There's a little stopper over here, and there's like a piece. So this stopper over here is going to nest between these little gear teeth. So if you think about this mechanism, it's kind of like a door stopper. This can open inwards or outwards, but when it does open inward, or when it is like laying down, it's gonna be resting inside like a gear tube. You guys kind of know what I mean? Okay. And the part about the door hinge is that when this is not when the device is not securely secured in like one position, it's gonna be like facing up like this. And there's gonna be like that little hinge over there. You guys kind of understand what I mean? Any questions? Okay, perfect. Okay. And then here's risk 4. The part I was talking about, Michael. You see, okay, so one of the things they wanted to do was have like a separate section on the top as well. So they're going to do something that encompasses the sides and on the top. So it's going to be almost like a cover, but with extrusions on the sides.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And
since we're not doing the whole screw it in to change size things, it makes more sense for it to all be one piece so it's more sturdy.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I think they were making like a more secure plastic, or plastic with like higher density or something like that for this specific part, because it'll act as like a cover, basically, like a protective cover, basically. So there's that. Any questions? Okay. And for F1, okay, so F1, this is a very complex shape. There's actually 2 sides, one for the left, one for the right. But let me kind of show you what I mean. Okay, never mind. I thought that was from one of you guys. Okay, so this is the actual shape of a handle that the patients are going to grip. It looks a little bit funky. Yeah, I definitely understand that. But this is one of the things where they spent a lot of time designing a really, ergodynamic shape where you can just grab onto it and it won't hurt your hand. So basically, the hands are going to grab like that. I'm going to try my best to draw my hands like that. And there's going to be a thumb resting like that. So when you see this thing, cross-section, I should say, I'm going to try my best to draw it. It's going to be looking like this. And I'm going to draw the patient's hand. And I'm drawing the right hand. So if you guys are kind of confused, I'm drawing like the right hand like this. There's going to be the right thumb. And then I'm going to get my eraser. Oops. And then I'm going to have, okay. And then I'm going to have the 4 fingers lying like this. You guys understand what I mean?
Yep.
Okay. So
and the way you're drawing those lines like that, it's giving me calculus, AP calculus test PTSD.
Oh.
It's reminding me of that. Man.
Yeah. Oh, you already took it too.
I did take it. Yep.
Yeah, it wasn't very fun.
It was not fun. No.
Ooh, okay. But yeah, think of it like one of our questions where we have a set of plane and there's a, what's it called? A 3D model that's like extruded out. So yeah, this is basically like your cross section of your fingers. Like if I lobbed off your fingers and grabbed like a tiny little slice of it, this would be that. So, and let me grab this thing again, this liquid container. It's basically going to be some weird looking shape. I'm just going to grab onto it like that, where this is my thumb and these are my 4 fingers. So I hope that's enough explanation for this weirdly looking object. I know it definitely looks a little bit out of our expectations, but it's definitely fine. Now, a lot of you guys might be wondering what the heck this thing is. Well, this is the part why this is the reason why they wanted to scrap F2. And that's because they're going to be wondering about, they're going to be primarily in charge with safety mechanisms. They don't really want to put that burden on us. So this is our safety mechanism. If we have this, the fingers are going to lay like that. Now this part, I'm looking at on the top. So let me just write that down there for people who are watching the recording. But this is our top. And if you look, the fingers would be resting like that. So there's going to be a cover over here. And let's say this is my cross-section of the finger. There's going to be this cover over here that protects the finger from slipping out. So that's our safety mechanism. Do you guys have any questions? Okay. And here's our left side, just pretty much the same as the right side. But yeah, F2. So if you're thinking what happened to F3, is it going to be, is it still going to be F3 or is it going to be F2? It's going to be F2 now from. So the protective flaps we made, the covers, like this part over here, that's going to be F2. So let's briefly go over F2. Here's the logo for our Leaders Rehab Robots. There's the company that's helping us build our prototype. Very thankful. I hope they're watching this recording later. But yeah, that's just like their logo. And it's pretty much the same. It's just going to be a protective flap. It's just going to be like an oval over here. It's going to protrude like this. There's just going to be a pin in the middle that kind of just secures onto F1. So that's pretty much it. Oh, and if you guys are wondering what this part is, that's for the protective covers. So like this part over here, the protective covers would like fit in nicely so that it would actually look something like this. And there would be the little grabby section, or the part where the patient grabs it. And there's going to be like a locking mechanism in here. So does anyone have any questions with that? Okay, perfect. So, oh, and here's left side if you guys needed it. So here's what we're going to do from now on. First of all, please turn in your revised 3D models as soon as possible. We're going to need it very much. Our mentors really need it, because what I did was I sent them, most likely it's going to be this way, but our mentors still want a nicer looking model, because even for our mentors, this is a pretty big project for them too. So they kind of want everything nicely made. And this is like a 3D model, something we present. Did I have a question?
Yeah, I do have a question. In regard to the 3D models, would you like them to look more like that?
This thing?
Yeah, this whole thing. I imagine that would, I mean, it wouldn't be that hard. It would just require a lot of redesigning. And we also wouldn't be able to get quite as much detail as you can with a drawing.
Mm-hmm. First of all, you don't have to make it exactly look like the drawing. Like the drawing shouldn't be the standard of comparison. The drawing is like very, very detailed. What I was actually thinking of was just turning in your regular models for now. And then within a week, we're going to revise our models. So after we go through these 2D models or these 2D drawings, we're going to like send revisions, like, little changes we want to make. So for example, let's look at Lyndon's part. If Lyndon's thinking like, I'm not really sure about the location about this centerpiece over here. Why don't we make it a little bit forward? And why don't we try to make this material a little bit more thicker, or things like that? Lyndon can suggest. And even big changes too, like if Junso's like, I don't really like these pavements over here, can we just change that entirely? They can think about it. So we're gonna give mentors what we think about the 2D blueprints. And after that, while they're actually building it, what I was thinking about is having you guys revise your 3D models a little bit more further. But if you want to revise it now, which I'm encouraging you guys to do, please do it. it just looks better on paper and for others, to see as well. Because if you think about it, this is kind of like a long-term project, and little things like that, it really does kind of it makes the transition looks a little bit smoother. So if you guys are thinking if you have to make these changes, I'm not going to say you need to make these changes for now, but if you want to, just because you want your model to look a little nicer and you want the transition to be smooth, please feel free to do so. Do I have any other questions? Okay. So as I said, I kind of hinted this when I was answering Michael's question, but now that we've gone over the 2D blueprint, what we're going to do is give mentors what we think about the blueprint, and we're going to give them feedback. Like, oh, I don't really think this is a nice looking locking mechanism. Why don't we change it where, and let me just kind of draw for a second. Why don't we, instead of making a pavement, why don't we just complete this and make it like that? Just kind of make this into solid material. Things like that, little changes like that. You guys are free to give feedback on, and that's what our mentors are going to spend time looking on it. Now, please don't see this as, oh, the professionals must have done it, so it must be perfect. That's definitely not the case. They want us to give our ideas, because at the end of the day, they're just helping us translate our ideas into an actual prototype. This is our project, and they know that too. They respect.
I gotta go to the bathroom, dude. I'm feeling sick again.
Oh yeah, sorry. Please go. Hope you're fine. But yeah, please don't hesitate to make any changes or suggest me anything. What I'm gonna do is open up a Google form where you can write down any specific changes or list out what you want to change or potential suggestions. So please do that. With that said, that's pretty much it. Now, what you guys have to do directly after this, let me clear my, oh, that's weird. There we go. So what you guys have to do directly after this is go over this PowerPoint or Google Slides. You're going to have to go through your model. So like Lyndon, you're going to have to go through risk 1, and I'm going to have a Google form out, and you're going to have to fill out that Google form, and you're going to have to maybe put pictures or maybe just write it in terms of words and just kind of give a suggestion. Now, because I don't want you to feel hesitant, I'm going to give everyone a one change requirement. So give me at least one thing you can say or one improvement you want to change in your models. Is that clear with everybody?
That's clear.
Okay, yeah. Can you guys give me like a thumbs up or something? Okay, well, anyways, it's fine. So with that said, that's pretty much all to our meeting. Thank you very much for coming. I know it's Mother's Day, so, please do celebrate it. But yeah, things are rolling pretty fast. We're shifting into main gear. So, I don't want to say, we're overwhelmed, but there is a lot of strict deadlines we got to meet. So what I'm going to do is I want you guys, and give me 1 second. There's actually like a sheet our mentor filled out for us. Ooh, let me try to get it in focus. Here, let me actually stop my, okay. Oops, let me actually stop my virtual background. Okay, so as you guys can see, there's like specific deadlines they kind of give us. So for our 2D drawings and 2D blueprints, we have to get that done by, the 7th. Okay, so we're already kind of late. We had to get it done by the 7th. Okay, so let's just say I'll give you guys 1 week to do it, because, well, actually, no. I'll give you guys till the 14th. So until the 14th, all you have to do is fill out the Google form. And you don't have to be too descriptive on the Google form, but all I ask you to do is just fill the thing out by the 14th. I'm going to release the Google form today, so don't worry about having to wait for me. But yeah, with that said, just keep that in mind. The 14th of May, I need at least one suggestion in the Google form. Just fill the Google form out. That's all there is to it. With that said, that's it's pretty much everything for the meeting. Thank you very much for coming. And yeah, you guys are free to go.